Shalom. In this week's Fact or Fantasy portion, I'm going to continue on about land ownership. Land ownership is the big question here in the Middle East, when two peoples are claiming the same piece of land as their own. In reference to this situation, last week I mentioned the Partition plan. That was a UN decision in 1947, dividing up the land for the Arabs and the Jews. Now the Jews accepted this plan, but the Arabs didn't. And why was this the case? Very simple, because the Arabs wanted it all. And the reason for that is I'm going to show you this map right here. It will explain why. Here you see the Ottoman Turkish Empire that covered the entire Middle East at the time up into Europe between 1517 and 1917. This Ottoman Turkish Empire was the principal power base in the Middle East in those days. They owned the land, and it was all Muslim land. And according to Muslim theology, they believe that once Islam has ruled in a place, they must always rule in that place forever. And this is why the Palestinians or the Arabs would not receive or accept the UN Resolution Plan 181, giving a Jewish and a Palestinian state side by side. And today, that exact problem is repeated again, and we're going through it all over simply because they want it all. For example, the late Yasser Arafat would not receive in the year 2000 at the Camp David II Accords from Israeli Prime Minister Barak when he offered him a two-state solution in the Middle East. He was proposing to give 97% of the West Bank to the Palestinians, half of Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, and to remove 60 settlements out of the West Bank. And still, that was not enough. Mr. Arafat would not receive that. And that's what has caused this ongoing problem to this very day, because he started the Intifada out of that, including suicide bombers that you see happening on your newscasts. And this is simply that they want all the land. That's the reason. They want it all. And we're not getting this story on our secular newscasts by secular reporters. And that is the reason why the peace process continually breaks down. It's because the Muslim fundamentalists want it all, as I said. And here's a map of the area to give you an idea of the geography of how it looks from a Palestinian school textbook. You see the nation of Israel cannot even be found here because it's been entirely replaced by the Palestinian state. This is why the Palestinian leadership cannot accept a state that is partial. They must have it all. And 7 times this happened in the last 100 years. The Palestinians could have had a state, but by the largesse of the Jewish people, Israel, and the world community of nations. This is a story that is not reported by the secular press on a regular basis on TV or in print. So we'll see you next time on Fact or Fantasy.